Panzanella is a tomato bread salad, and it's one of those dishes that's hard to mess up. I mean, if you start with ripe tomatoes and with good chewy bread, it's hard not to make something tasty. But today, we're taking this dish from good to amazing with the help of two secret ingredients. The first one is anchovy paste. Alison, Roman, and I might have our differences, but if there is one thing we can both agree on, is that anchovies rock. No, they do not make the salad fishy. I've served this salad to dozens of people and not one figured out that the salad contained fish. Normally, I do things the hard way and Alison does things the easy way. But when it comes to anchovies, I am the lowbrow, low-effort person. Opening a can of anchovies always leaves me with leftovers. Chopping them is a pain. It leaves my board greasy and fishy, which requires a lot of effort to clean. It's true that some anchovy pastes have a slightly prickly, bony texture. You'll have to experiment until you find the brand you like. I like the Amore brand. It's cheap and widely available. Once I switched from chopping anchovies to using a paste, my use of this fabulous umami booster has skyrocketed. The second secret ingredient is honey. I love honey in salad dressings. It balances the salt and umami of anchovies with sweetness and acidity. None of this overshadows the tomatoes. It just underscores their natural qualities. Tomatoes are naturally sweet, acidic, and umami rich. This just makes them even more so. Well, now that you know my secrets, let's make the salad. Set a medium skillet over moderate heat and add a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Dunk both sides of the bread in oil and cook until the bread is brown and crisp on both sides. I like to oil both sides of the bread at the beginning of cooking, otherwise the first side absorbs all the oil and there is not much left for the second side. Unfortunately, my market was out of my favorite chewy sourdough bread today, so I ended up with focaccia. It's not the ideal bread for the salad because it's too fresh and airy, but in a pinch that will do. If possible, use a firmer bread that can stand up to all the tomato juices. Cool the bread just until you can comfortably handle it and rub it all over with garlic. I like to dunk the clove in salt to help release its juice. For this kind of salad, I don't bother dirtying a second bowl for the dressing. I make it right in the bowl in which I plan to make my salad. Combine the lemon juice, balsamic vinegar, mustard, honey, and anchovy paste. And mix with a fork or a whisk until completely blended. This dressing might not be a looker, but it's a flavor powerhouse. Slowly pour in the olive oil while whisking. I use the hand that holds the bottle to tilt the bowl, which makes the oil easier to integrate. But getting the dressing to emulsify is really optional for this dish. If you wanted to, you could really just dump in the oil and whisk vigorously. Okay, the dressing is done and we can get chopping. The tomato size matters. This dish relies on a pool of tomato juice, so it's not a good use of cherry tomatoes. The tomatoes don't need to be huge, but they need to be sizable and ripe. Cut your tomatoes in half and remove the cores. Then cut them into bite-sized pieces and add them to the bowl with the dressing. Cut some red onion very thinly. My onion is from a farm, so it has an unusual elongated shape. I thought it would be pretty to cut it into circles, but regretted it later. The circles that broke ended up as very long strands and were not very comfortable to eat. So learn from my mistake and cut your onion into shorter pieces. The important thing is that they're very thin. See, like this. Cut a small garlic clove crosswise into paper-thin slices. Chop a big handful of basil leaves. Don't get carried away. Leaving the pieces relatively large will give you something to sink your teeth into, releasing more aroma. And finally, cut the bread into bite-sized pieces. Add the onions, garlic, and basil to the salad. Season generously with salt. I don't want to edit out this part so that you can see just how much salt I'm adding. It is Diamond Crystal Kosher. You will need half this volume for most other salts, but it's important to be generous. A little black pepper is nice too, but completely optional. Mix very well and don't forget to taste and adjust the salt in the dressing. If the salad is not addictive, you need more salt. I also needed a bit more oil. Don't be alarmed at the puddle of juice in the bottom of the bowl. A lot of it will be absorbed by the bread. Once the juice is perfectly seasoned, add the bread and mix to combine. How long to let the salad sit depends on the sturdiness of the bread. Since I used bread that's airy and fresh, I prefer to serve the salad right away. If I used bread that was chewy or stale, I might want to give it 10 minutes or so for the bread to absorb the juice. The salad and the croutons can be made up to an hour before serving and combined later. I hope the salad will help you use the bounty of late summer. Here are more very detailed culinary tutorials for you to check out. And if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.